everybody, and welcome to our webinar, how our hot and cold stamping products optimize the recyclability of your packaging. Welcome everybody that you are here for this, this session. First of all, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Markus von Beyer. I'm a chemical engineer, and I'm coming from the Environmental and Safety Department. In my role at KURZ, I'll take care of all the recyclability studies of end products together with the KURZ Dünnschicht products, small surface decoration. And also I'm working intensively on further methods to recycle internal and external raw material streams. And today, Ms. Julia Meyer is also here in this room.
Hello.
She has taken care of all the organization of this webinar, and afterwards, while answering the questions, she also would assist to cluster all your questions. So thanks, Julia, for being here, and also thanks that you have time for this webinar. We have now more or less 30 minutes, or let's say 40 minutes for this presentation, and afterwards we try to answer all your questions. So please ask a lot of questions, since this is the opportunity for you to get more insights on the topic, on your interests especially. The agenda of this webinar, I'd like to introduce our mission regarding sustainability. What is a KURZ transfer decoration, and also what is it with recyclability of end products together with KURZ transfer finish. Today we will focus on paper and cardboard, and at the end I'd like to give a short summary and outlook for further steps. So the KURZ Group, what is it? We're a family-run business since 1899 in the 5th generation. We are a worldwide leader in thin film technology. We have products for surface finishing, decoration, marking, and counterfire protection. Nowadays, we have more than 5,500 employees worldwide, and we have a global network of subsidiaries, representatives, and sales offices to support you in every country around the globe, with local production, but with a global network of different subsidiaries. We have productions in Europe, Asia, and the US, and together with that production sites, we support you in all markets. What is our mission for sustainability? We like to work as a KURZ group to contribute and provide a better environment for the next generations. We try to do that honestly and without and out of conviction, and we protect humans and the environment. We do that all around the globe with the same standards as we have them in Germany and in Europe, even if they are not necessarily necessary. So, but we have the same standards all around the globe. And we include in all product phases the principle design for recycling, because this is, in our point of view, quite important, especially at the beginning of a product life cycle. Even more, it's important that also we start with design for recycling with our products. And by doing this, we ensure that all our products are maximally built for recyclability, and this gives you another degree of freedom that you can be sure that all things we claim as recyclable with end products, with substrate that is provided by you or is decorated in your facilities, could go into the right streams for recycling. And together with that knowledge we brought up, you have also a quite cost-efficient process, and also you don't need to be or you don't need to make new tests for yourself. So we do that in-house, and we are a partner for you and a discussion partner to get you all the insights of recycling in the paper and also in the cardboard industry, but also in the plastics industry. We like to take that design for recycling as a holistic approach, and we focus in our research and development department to build new products and processes to strengthen here our common future. So the question might be, is it possible to have a sustainable finishing in print and packaging? Of course, that's for sure no problem. So I brought another question. Maybe somebody of you ever have wondered, is KURZ foil recyclable? In that case, it is not necessarily the right question, because the foil we provide is just a carrier. The decoration itself is a thin film on the foil and is brought to the substrate. So maybe it's not the right question. So, but to answer the right, to ask the right question, we should have a deeper look in what is our product. So the KURZ transfer finish. First of all, there is no plastic on the packaging, no film on the packaging. So it's no foil, no lamination, it's a transfer finish. And also the PET carrier, so the polyester carrier, stays in the industrial waste loop. So that means that in the production of bright and shiny packaging, that the PET carrier film remains at the facility and never comes to the end customer, and he don't need, and then we can, in the industrial waste loop, ensure that this material would go to the right streams. So we transfer thinnest decorative layers, so they are something like 2 microns thin. So that's quite amazing here. And also we transfer just 1% of decoration weight, meaning that all the decoration we can provide to you is the minimum amount of material used to have a great shiny embellishment. By doing that, we also fulfill all global and European or especially German regulations. There is no harmful substances in our transfer finish, and this is quite good, because then you in your production facility have the chance to apply our foils or our transfer finish to the substrate without any further air cleaning or something like that, or any solvent disposal or what else. And also the aluminum which is used to make this decorative layer is incredibly thin. So it's something like 0.02 microns, which is around 5,000 times thinner than a human hair. And in comparison, like metallized paper, you would need to apply something like 0.1 micron of metallized layers. And also in the metallic ink, you have to apply a layer which is something like 0.2 microns. And also on the right side, you can see the transfer process. So you have a printed product, a printed substrate. You apply the, in this case, the hot stamping foil on the substrate, peel off the carrier, and the embellishment remains on the substrate, and you get a great decorated cardboard with no foil or no plastic on the substrate. So by knowing that all, the better question might be, is the end product recyclable? Because this is also the question which is important for example, the EPR fees. So how to, in which stream is the product going? By doing that, we can distinguish all our products by the sector. Nowadays, or today, we talk about the paper and cardboard sector, especially the packaging and print, but also our products go into plastics industry, for example, the industrial or the cosmetics industry, and also for high durability technical products like automotive, consumer electronics, or home appliance. We can provide surface decoration for your needs. But today we will focus on the low to medium durability products, or especially fast-moving consumer goods, which are here on the left side. Yeah, let's have a deeper look into the life cycle of such products. Typically, we start on the top with raw materials, trees or fiber substrate, going to a pulping facility, produce paper or cardboard, and then with that we go to the printing and production facilities. And quite important here is also the design for recycling aspects, and also the design for recyclability aspects. After printing, after finishing, the product has a use at the customer, at the end customer, and then probably the product would go to collecting, but it also can go to composting. It is not necessarily the best case to go to composting, because then we would lose the fibers, because they would generate carbon dioxide and water by composting. But the better option might be to just recollect the material, the folding boxes, the papers, the graphic booklets, bring them back to the sorting facility, sort them into paper and paperboard. The paperboard might go to the pulping. We repulp, and then we can produce new paper out of that. And the other streams, for example, paper, the inking paper would go to the pulping step, and then we can also apply the inking here, which means we can get rid of all the lacquers, the inks, and the embellishment to produce high quality recycling paper out of that. And then we have closed the loop here, but of course we also have to make sure that we bring in some new fibers from sustainable sources to have a high quality fiber stream within the whole circle. So let's first start with the design for recycling and also the production process. We have different inks and adhesives, printing, converting, application processes, and they all have a quite high importance for the recyclability afterwards, because now we can decide what should we apply to the product, to the paper, and what is the influence of this ink or adhesive on the further recycling step, on the compostability, on the sorting, and also the de-inking. So by applying different processes, different steps here, we can ensure that we do the right things. And by applying KURZ thin film technology, you are sure that all further steps are checked by us, so you don't need to worry about what is happening in the sorting facility, what is happening at the composting, what is happening at the de-inking. So we do that for you here. So that works. So the next step would be what happens if the material goes to composting. We have checked with Dean Sertko, it's a German institute, what happens if we apply hot stamping foils or transfer the product to the substrate. In this case, it was an MTS 220, which is decorated here on a cardboard, which is itself compostable. So this is quite important here. So the substrate must be compostable itself, and then we can apply up to 1 weight% of our transfer finish, and the whole end product would be also compostable. So that certificate means especially that the hot stamping foil here would not hinder the composting, neither it does harm the environment, because there is no toxic things inside the decoration layer, and also there's no problem with the disintegration of the cardboard because of our embellishment. So by doing so, we can provide you the certificate. So it's according to the international standard EN 13432, that this MTS 220 is a safe additive for the composting process. And also we can supply that for different other qualities. So the next step here in the circle would be the collection and the sorting. The sorting and especially the collection depends on where is the location of the sorting. So in Germany, there's this blue paper bin. Sometimes it could also be green, but more or less in every city in Germany, there's a collection in bins, but also there's a collection of this stacks of paper together with different organizations, like for example the Red Cross. They would collect these kind of things and bring them to the sorting facility to get some money for their own organization. So the collection depends heavily on the country, heavily on the city. So it's different in every region. So we need to check, is there a sorting collection in place, and then we can be sure that this collected material also goes to the sorting facility and can be recycled, because without any collection there won't be any recycling. So that's quite important also to have a good collection infrastructure in place. Afterwards, after the collection, the paper from household collection typically goes to a sorting line. Here you can see the sorting line, which is close to our facilities in Germany. We've been there to see what is happening with our products on the sorting line. And the sorting line more or less looks like that picture here. You have a sorting by size. So by doing the sorting by size, you get rid of all the cardboards, which are bigger than DIN A4 typically. They will go to the paperboard stream, like the cardboards, the brown cardboards for secondary packaging, for example. Then the smaller things would be separated between the fines and the mixed paperboard stream. The fines are going to a different recycling facility. They are smaller than a cigarette box, for example, and the other stream is going to the paper spike. The paper spike in this case is a mechanical treatment of the streams. So in this case, you get rid of all the cardboard which has a grammature higher than 100 grams per square meter, and the rest will go to the near infrared detection. This is NER. So in the NER, this is a camera which looks on the paper substrate and look then the spectrum of the infrared light up in a table, and then decided, is it paper, is it paperboard, is it plastics, and then decided, is this packaging or that printed product going to the paper and paperboard stream 1.02, or is it going to the de-inking stream 1.11, which is of course here the most valuable stream, because you can get rid of the ink and then you get a high quality fiber without any inks. And you can also see here in this small overview that there isn't any trash coming out from the sorting line. So that means all the products which are going to sorting typically are recycled. So they are not necessarily end up in the highest value stream, the inking stream, but they are recycled more or less in every stream. And then it depends on the value of the stream, and also what can be made out of that kind of material. And then the recycling facility had to dispose the, for example, plastic or the lamination, because this is not fiber. They can just recycle the fiber, and That's also quite important to know. And how does the NER sorting react to embellishment from KURZ? You can see here the sorting. This is a conveyor belt here on the left side. The red bar is the camera system with the detected with the NER system, and then the products are going to the conveyor belts, running through the camera with 3 to 4 meters per second, and the detection checks: is it paper, is it paperboard, is it plastics, and then there's a air bar which blows out all the material which isn't going to the inking, which it blows out the material which is going to the inking stream, and the rest remains on the first separation itself, and then the rest is blown out to the inking stream. And also checked with TOMRA different samples with our decoration. You can see here our packaging for pralines, which has a decoration on the front in golden letters. And here you can see the NER classified picture from the front cover and also from the back cover. The yellow pictures in the middle row, or middle line, they are from the front cover, and then you see the back color on the bottom line. So what happens if the NER looks at this kind of packaging together with the embellishment? More or less, you can see just board, the yellow parts of this picture. So that means there's no influence of the decoration itself on the sorting or on the detection here. So the picture from the front cover will lead to a positive result and bring that packaging to the de-inking fraction. If you just have a look at the back cover, you see there is some areas with white board and also with gray news. So that means the small letters or the ingredient list on the back will sort that also in the de-inking fraction, because also newspaper would go to the de-inking fraction, and also, of course, the whiteboard would go to the de-inking fraction. So by applying this kind of sorting to our decoration, you can be sure that this would not hinder the sorting itself. But of course, there is a small thing you have to consider. So the sorting or the detector just needs to see the base material. So by knowing that, we can guarantee if you don't apply more than 70% of embellishment to the substrate, you will end up in the high de-inking fraction. So this means you have to be sure that 30% of the substrate must be undecorated if you want to go to the high de-inking fraction. But even with higher embellishment, you can also achieve a recyclability of your packaging, but then it could not be detected to the highest value fraction, but then it would go to the mixed fraction with paper and paperboard 1.02. But this is, of course, great news here to apply 70% of decoration. So that would be a great plus here. So the next step is the de-inking, which can be done for paper and also paper board, but typically for paper and newspaper and magazines. And the de-inking is a 3-step process. So that means beginning with the detachment of the ink from the fibers. So you bring all the material to a reactor or to a, let's say a big container, and then you mix that with sodium hydroxide and water and some detergents, and produce some paper pulp, which then goes to the sorting, slit sorting, for example, and then you can get rid of all the metal parts, sands, glass, stones, and something like that. And the ink is fragmented into small particle sizes, like 5 to 150 microns, And in the third and last step, you remove the ink together with the embellishment, together with inks, and mostly you use the air flotation, so you apply some air bubbles to the whole system, and together with the detergents, the ink and the embellishment would attach to the bubbles, float, and then you can remove that de-inking sludge from the flotation system, and you get clean and high quality recycling fibers. And you can also think about some processes in the laboratory scale to check whether the decoration or the ink is good de-inkable, and we have done that together with Ingide. There's the Ingide method L11, which looks deeper into the de-inking of printed products, and we have done that with various of our products and always get a better score than 96 from 100 points. Here there's a certificate shown for a cold transfer product, and this certificates confirm that the inking works quite well, and this is also shown on this slide here for different products. For example, a hot stamping product, the Alufine MTS, and also the MTS 307 or 362, which is red and black, and also MTC and MTH 220, which give quite good results. So in the case of the golden and silver products, you would get always 100 points out of 100, and in the case of the red and black products, we get grade 96 or 97 points, which is still really good result, because everything better than 70 points would be a good result and would be really preferable for the inking here. So what is necessary for what to show that products with KURZ transfer finish are recyclable and have a good recyclability performance? We need to show, or we need to make sure that they are technically recyclable. That is the first step. So we have done numerous recyclability tests, and they are done in accordance with relevant standards, ISO standards, international standards like the Ingide method 11 or the composting, according to DIN EN 13432. And then the next step would be, is there access to the collection? Then you can decide, is there a recycling possible? And this, of course, varies between different markets, countries, and you always have to check, is there infrastructure in place, because that could also change quite fast. The next step would be, is it accepted in the sorting system? We showed you that it's no problem, that it's accepted in the sorting system, and it's also a great plus if you decorate less than 70%, that the substrate or the packaging could go to the high quality de-inking stream, and then we can make amazing new products out of that with high quality fibers. So the question would be, can it be identified as a recyclable object? And the last question is it accepted by the recyclers? So is it actually compatible with the process conditions, ensuring a secondary material use here? And I can tell you that nowadays it's the case, because also the leftovers in a printing facility, which are decorated with our products, typically are going to recycling paper facilities, and they are high quality raw material, because typically folding boxes are produced with virgin fiber material, so they're a long fiber, high quality fibers included. They can go to de-inking, and then we can use that high quality fibers to make new products out of that. Could be paper towel, which can be reused. Could be also high quality office paper, which is also considered to be more environmental friendly in terms of energy use and in terms of water use. So this is nowadays also the place. We're working on a better reputation by that, because we see that it is done, but there's no official statement of the recyclers doing that. So we're working on that, and we're working together with DNGIDE to make sure that this is also really official. But yeah, we need a little bit more time for that. So altogether, I can say that the recycling of paper and cardboard decorated with KURZ transfer finish is compatible with existing collection, sorting, and recycling mechanisms. So these products are recyclable. They are recycled mostly in Europe. So this is great news here. And then, of course, there was another question at the beginning: is the KURZ foil recyclable? So this depends more or less on the leftover from the application process, because we transfer the decoration itself to the substrate, and the carrier itself, the PET carrier, remains in the industrial waste loop. And then maybe you would ask, is this kind of foil also recyclable? So I brought you this slide. Is the recycling of the coated PET carrier possible? And first we have to check in different recycling methods on the left side, and also the procedure, what is standing behind that. So the first thing would be mechanical recycling. The procedure is reprocessing, so that means we have, for example, the PET bottles. You buy them into the grocery store and bring them back to the deposition return scheme, get some deposit out of that, and the bottle is reprocessed, mechanically reprocessed, so it is shredded, washed, the label is removed, and also the closure is removed. So then, by doing that, you can reprocess that material mechanically. The next step would be chemical recycling. In this case, the depolymerization. So you're making out of a long polymer chain a small fragmentation, like a pearl. Yeah, like a long chain. You just make them shorter by depolymerization and get some monomers out of that. And also you can do that depolymerization with, or you can do chemical recycling with pyrolysis. That means pyrolysis is typically a process with high temperature without any oxygen. So you just heat up the material, exclude oxygen, and then the material is decomposed at elevated temperatures to get shorter molecules and make some new stuff out of that. And also, of course, it's possible to incinerate the material. And the big advantage here, you would use the incineration to gain energy for highly energy needed processes. For example, the production of cement, which nowadays use still some fuels like oils or gas, and you can use this kind of waste stream, which is highly caloric, to use that as a energy carrier. So let's have a look what is possible with the coated PET carrier. First, we look deeper into the general feasibility for PET without no lacquer or especially clean material. Of course, it's possible to use mechanical recycling, as I also told you about the PET bottles. In the chemical recycling, it's possible to use the depolymerization. That works quite well. Some companies do that already, and also they build up some larger plants to do that chemical recycling by depolymerization. In the other case, the pyrolysis won't work because the PET itself contains oxygen. So it brings some oxygen, and you would exclude the oxygen in the pyrolysis process. So for PET, the pyrolysis won't work. Of course, incineration works quite well, and today all our internal waste streams go at least to incineration, because that's also quite a good possibility to gain energy and make high value products out of that. But in the future, we also try to work harder on mechanical and chemical recycling. We do that internally. And if you want to know more about that, there's also a second webinar covering that two aspects, and we will show you what we are doing internally in these two areas. So altogether, I want to sum up and give a short outlook. So I showed you paper and paper board are 100% recyclable and also de-inkable. The decorative layer is not influencing the composting process. We do that here, or we show that with Luxor MTS 220 according to the DEN 12432. We also work intensively with third-party authorities and also institutes to ensure high-quality paper and also recyclates in the plastic industry. We work together with Recyclability, for Evergreen, the FFE, so the INGIDE also to make sure that all our products are also recyclable tomorrow. And of course, the PET stays within the industrial waste cycle for further processing, which makes it more easier to recycle that. With that, I end. I'm happy if you ask some questions. If you don't have any questions now, then please feel free to just write us an email and we try to answer your question afterwards. So thank you, and hope that we have a great discussion now.
Yeah, feel free to use the chat to write down your questions, and we will be happy to answer them.
So is there any question?
Not yet. Now I got a question. Is there a difference in recyclability between the different transfer processes?
Okay, thanks. That's a good question. So probably you mean, is there a difference between hot stamping and cold transfer process? So first we have to look deeper in the application process. By hot stamping, you just apply the decoration layer on the substrate itself, peel off the PET carrier, and then the product can be recycled quite well, because you can de-ink, or you can also go to composting when the substrate is compostable itself. So that works quite well. In the case of the cold transfer, you need to make sure that also the adhesive you use for the application of the transfer finish is also, in the case of the composting, compostable. But then it would also work. And in the case of the de-inking, the great news is that the de-inking works also for the cold transfer. So there is no difference between hot stamping or cold transfer in the case for the de-inking. So both products would be really good in de-inking.
Thank you. There's another question. First of all, thank you. Someone wrote thank you, great webinar. And when is the next webinar? I can answer that one. It's probably going to be beginning of August, but we haven't set the date yet. But we will inform you about that as soon as we set a date.
Okay, any other questions? So probably not the case. So yeah.
Oh, now there's another question.
Great.
You said that that you would recommend to decorate not more than 70% of packaging. Is there anything else that you can recommend for the design for recycling?
So to be honest, less is always better, but this is also coming that maybe your products aren't that attractive anymore. So it's always a trade-off between these two questions. But if the other things are also good for de-inking, for example, because this is the best case scenario, that you go to de-inking and then make high quality fibers out of the product again, you need to make sure that all your inks and dyes or what else is also good for the inking, because then the whole packaging itself is also good for the de-inking and the recycling. So check with the other suppliers if they have any certificates or any third-party test results, because then you can be sure that the whole packaging is recyclable or is also de-inkable.
Thank you. So just for your information, you will receive this presentation afterwards, and you will also receive the recording of the webinar.
Okay, great. Then, if there isn't any further question, I think we can just end the webinar here. Thank you for your attention and also your questions. And yeah, if there are any more questions, just reach out to us, and you can also reach us on our here social media and also by email. So thanks, and see you next time.
Thank you.